Welcome everybody to this month's Lunch and Learn. As you know, our Master Gardeners put on these programs for the general public once a month. And today we have Kathy Choate talking to us about cut flower gardening. Also, we have information about the Master Gardening Program at the table over here in case anybody's interested. Our next class starts up at the end of June. So without further ado, here's Kathy.
Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the Leon County Master Gardeners Lunch and Learn Program, May of 2024. Cut flowers presented by Leon County Master Gardener, Kathy Choate. That would be me. Spring is in the air, and before we know it, summer's in the air, fall is in the air, and winter's in the air. You know, it comes quickly. The early morning sunrise, the sun is shining, dew is on the ground. Birds are singing and the trees are budding. The spring garden is just starting. The world is awakening from a long winter's nap. I'm excited. So we're in Zone 8B. Our frost and freeze dates are March 15th through November 15th, give or take a week or two either way. You know that saying, all good things come to an end? Well, just because your flowers have a shelf life doesn't mean you shouldn't enjoy them for as long as you can. Taking into consideration how long flowers last will help you pick the right bouquet and get the most beauty. Planting a cut flower garden can be a delightful and rewarding endeavor. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or a beginner, here are some steps to guide you in planting and creating your own beautiful cut flower garden. First off, you need to choose the right flowers. You need to plant focal flowers. These are the stars of your arrangements. Select flowers that stand out, their color, shape, and size. You need filler flowers. These complement the focal blooms. They add volume and texture to your bouquets. Foliage plants don't forget greenery. Foliage provides a lovely backdrop and enhances the overall arrangement. And variety. Vary the colors, heights, textures, and shapes of the flowers you choose. This diversity will make your garden visually appealing and provide a wide range of options for cutting. Does anybody know what a cut flower is? Charlene, what's your opinion of a cut flower?
It's because you're eating. I consider a cut flower any, not just flower, but any shrub, type, herb, anything like that that you can cut, put in water, and it lasts at least 4 or 5 days. That's what I consider a cut flower.
Well, my opinion on a cut flower is anything in your garden. Anything in your yard, anything in your garden.
Right, doesn't have to be a flower.
Just bring that beauty indoors and enjoy it for as long as you can. You know, God gave us these beautiful things. We need to really enjoy them. When you're watering your flowers, water them in the early morning. Water the soil, not the flower or the foliage, to avoid fungal disease. So many people go out there and they just spray that water hose and they get everything wet. Just water the soil around the plant. That's all you need to do. Design your cut flower garden on graph paper. I don't know about you, but I take all of these magazines and I'll sit there in the evening and I'll look through them and say, oh, I'd like to plant this or I'd like to plant that. Well, then you go to reading in these seed catalogs, and it tells you the height, it tells you the season, it tells you everything you need to know about growing that seed. Then you plan your garden out on graph paper. You put your taller varieties at the back and in the middle of your beds. And don't forget to include bulbs with your annuals and perennials. Be sure to include pathways so that you have access to harvest your flowers. Commercial growers, they grow cut flowers in rows. To me, that's boring. I consider that subdivision gardening. If you ever go into a subdivision, the entrance to a subdivision, they're all in a neat little row. I prefer the cottage garden look, where everything is just planted here, there, and where there's a space. Several annual seeds for the following, and save your annual seeds for the following year. When you plant your zinnias and your cosmos and stuff, you can save those seeds for the next year. And keep in mind, bees are attracted to large patches of the same colored flowers. Deadheading is your maintenance task. A spent flower draws pest and disease. My mother-in-law always used to say, get out there with your pruners and keep all the spent flowers cut. They draw insects, they draw disease. And she was real particular too about just watering the soil. Your aftercare tips for cut flowers. Keep your cut flowers away from direct sunlight, as heat can dry out petals and contribute to wilting. Make sure that the water in the base is kept clean. Replace it and clean the base with soap and water, as flowers and bacteria don't go together. Mist the petals and leaves of cut flowers from time to time to make them look extra fresh. A lot of times when you go to the florist, to buy an arrangement, they keep them in coolers. And if you, say, are having a party and you cut your flowers and arrange your flowers the evening before, you can actually stick those in the refrigerator, and the cool and the moisture will help keep them looking like they were just picked. Flowers that wilt must be removed from the vase too. They release ethylene that may cause other flowers to wilt prematurely. So as your bouquet starts to wither, pull those spent flowers out. There's no reason why you can't have a raised bed cut flower garden. It may not be feasible to have a designated area for a cut flower garden in your yard. A lot of people are going to container gardening and raised beds. I, in particular, am going to that. Planting flowers in your vegetable garden serves several purposes. It deters pests. It draws pollinators, besides having a lovely flowers to cut and bring indoors to enjoy. I put marigolds, I put nasturtiums. They both do a wonderful job with keeping aphids and other pests away, and they do bring butterflies and hummingbirds, bees, everything that your garden needs to be successful. If you're just starting out with a cut flower garden, there are several beautiful and easy to grow flowers for you to consider. Here are some great options. Coreopsis, also known as Tickseed. You'll see some of that in, I think, that arrangement over there. They produce a daisy-like 2-inch blooms in shades of yellow, orange, and rusty red throughout the summer. This easy-to-grow native perennial, it grows in poor, shallow, chalky, or dry conditions. Plus it draws pollinators and it's deer resistant. Your growing conditions, it likes full sun in well-drained soil. It grows to 5 feet and about 3 feet wide in zones 3 to 9. Cosmos, which are easy to grow and produce many blooms in different colors. Zinnias, which are also easy to grow and come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Marigolds, which are bright and cheerful and can repel pests. Bachelor Buttons, which are great for filling bouquets with their little blue flowers. Sunflowers, which are either single stem or branching and can grow very tall and large. Amaranth, which is a dramatic tassel of red, pink, or green. Those are real pretty. They're in the grain family. Here's some Tickseed. I have it in a bucket. All these pictures that I'm going to show you today are from my yards. Roses. Roses are a given when it comes to cut flowers, with red, pink, white, yellow, you know, the yellow rose of Texas, lavender or oranges, and each color represents an emotion or an event. So here's red. Everybody loves a red rose. This is beautiful Dick Clark. It's a hybrid. It's a grandiflora. It grows in bunches, and it grows very tall. This actually is in a shaded part of my yard. I know they say you're supposed to grow these in full sun, but as you can see, it does very well with that little bit of shade. It gets morning sun, but most of the day it's shaded. Our sun is so hot. Cosmos. These delightful flowers come in colorful red, white, and pink hues. They have seashell-shaped blooms that look lovely in a vase. Cosmos are cut and come again flowers, meaning you can keep harvesting them throughout the season. They thrive in full sun and need at least 6 hours of sunlight per day. Cosmos, it's a Greek word, it means harmony. It's very drought tolerant, and the good news is it prefers the poor soil. So you don't have to have an improved soil to grow pretty flowers. Deadheading is important. It encourages more flowers to bloom. It makes the plant stronger and sturdy. Pollinators love them. Here's some cosmos in my yard. They come in different colors. Zinnias. Zinnias are ideal for cut flower gardens. They grow quickly and bloom just 60 days after planting. Available in a wide array of colors and flower formations. Zinnias are attractive to pollinators and have a long vase life. Plus, they don't require stratification and will grow in most soil types. They're heat tolerant and drought resistant, making them perfect for beginners. Zinnias and cosmos, you can sow those directly into your flower beds. You don't have to start them 6 or 8 weeks before your last freeze date. You can sow them directly into the garden. You just sprinkle them and then just kind of pat them down, give them a little water, and before you know it, they're up. And with all this rain we've had, mine have gone from this big to this big, like overnight. My favorite, zinnias, are the queen of the cottage garden. Succession planting will ensure continuous blooms. So sprinkle some seeds out there, wait 2 weeks, sprinkle some more seeds, wait another 2 weeks, sprinkle some more seeds, and you'll have beautiful flowers all summer long. They do withstand the hot, humid conditions that we have here. Zinnias are annuals that self-seed. They will drop their seeds, and it's not unusual for them to come up the following year. Even though they're annuals, they self-seed, and you get some of the beauty the following year. It withstands the heat. They have a sturdy stem. As you cut flowers, it branches out and produces more flowers. The reblooms are as pretty and as large as the first blooms. They're easy to grow, see directly in your garden after all dangers of frost has passed. They grow 25 to 30 inches tall. They're double or single bloom. They're a pollinator magnet, and they originated in Mexico in the 1800s. You can look in these seed catalogs and you'll see all the different colors and varieties. Here's a zinnia. They have little, you see they have little flowers in the middle. Here's another color. And see all these new ones coming up? Here's a real pretty purple one. And if you notice between that one and this one, the flower petals are different. Some are even cactus-like. Here's another one, and they grow real tall. And there's some marigolds in there with it. There's a bunch of them in one little area, and they really are butterfly magnets. There's a little pollinator right there, getting a little drink. So do you know when your flower's ready to cut? Do y'all know when your flower's ready to cut? Charlene, do you? I'm going to pick on Charlene
When
today.
I can get out there and get it cut. Right before it's fully open.
So, zinnias, their stem, they will wiggle. The stem will wiggle. See how this is? It'll wiggle. When that stem, and the flower will wiggle on top. When that stem no longer wiggles and that flower stays put, it's ready to cut.
Got that, Charlene?
Got it.
No, really, if you try to grow zinnias, do this on the stem, and if the flower kind of bobbles around on top, you know, remember those little bobbleheads we used to get, the head bobbled? The zinnia will do the same thing. When it's ready to be cut, it won't do that. And it'll last a long time in a vase. Marigolds are cheerful and easy to grow. They come in various shades of orange and yellow. Marigold blooms are great for cutting and adding a pop of color to your arrangements. Marigold chrysanthemums, pyrithium is made from those flowers. It's a natural insecticide. Marigolds make good companion plants in the vegetable garden to deter pests and attract pollinators. Also consider adding herbs, basil, oregano, parsley, lavender, and rosemary to your cut flower gardens, because you can cut those as well and bring them in your house, and not only are they eye appealing, but they have a wonderful smell. Here's some marigolds in a pot. These are little French marigolds. I like to put these in my garden, and I like the great big tall ones too, the Cracker Jack. Bachelor buttons, also known as cornflowers. These charming flowers have a classic blue color, but you can also find them in pink, white, and other hues. They grow well in full sun and are excellent for cutting. Bachelor buttons are not perennials, but do reseed readily. Plant them in an area where you won't mind if they come back next year. They self-seed. And you can also save the seed to plant the following year. Here's a little bachelor button. Most of the time you always saw them in blue, but they have like a pinkish, purpley color now too, besides just the blue. They were brought to America in the 17th century, and they were found in all cottage gardens of the early 1930s and 1940s. It was an old tradition for men to wear a blue bachelor button in the button of their suit coat. I believe it told that they were single. Bachelor buttons, also known as cornflower because of its prevalence in cornfields in its native Europe, is a cutting garden and cottage garden favorite. It's grown for its bright blue fringe flowers. The stems last for days in a cut flower arrangement. You know, and some of the flowers that you can grow in your gardens You don't find those flowers in the floral department and when you order something to be sent to somebody. They just don't use them. Plant the seeds in the fall for spring bloom. While their ideal soil conditions are sandy loam, these plants tolerate poor soil conditions. Well-drained soil will keep bachelor button flowers thriving. Avoid wet soil. Bachelor buttons are prone to rot if the roots get too wet. So they like drier conditions and don't require as much water. Growing cut flowers from seed can be a rewarding and cost-effective way to bloom your garden with beautiful blooms. So, Charlene's made a monster out of me with starting seeds, you know, peppers and tomatoes and garden vegetables, and now I'm getting kind of addicted to starting flower seeds. Commercial growers plant, like I said, their seeds in a straight row. That's boring. Sow the seeds directly in your garden bed after the final frost of spring, or you can start them roughly 6 to 8 weeks before your projected last frost date, and then transplant the seedlings into your garden once the weather warms. Cut flowers attract bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, moths, and also night pollinators. A good example of a night flower is the moonflower. David Bradley was known for those moonflowers. On the seed package, you'll find detailed planting instructions. It's also very important to look for the non-neonic safe for bees statement. A lot of your flower seeds now, and a lot of your vegetable seeds, have that statement on there, on the back of the package. Neonic, it's a noun. The European Union banned the use of neonics on plants that are attractive to bees because it kills the bees. Neonicotinoids are a class of neuroactive insecticides chemically similar to nicotine, developed by scientists at Shell and Bayer in the 1980s. Neonicotinoids are among the widest used insecticides. Well, we all know that nicotine is not good for your health. It's not good for the environment and the bees as well. These are some bee-friendly flowers. You see the different varieties up there. And all of these, well, not the lilac, it doesn't grow in this part of the world. And probably not the rhododendron. But all the rest of these you can grow here in our area. This is a camellia. These bloom in late winter, January. They also attract pollinators. And they're a beautiful flower, and they make a nice cut flower. There's some more butterflies. Anyone know what kind of butterfly that is?
A pretty one.
Buckeye?
Yes. They're unusual. I know y'all have seen the black woolly caterpillars that are roaming around everywhere. I'm starting to see the moth from it. It's the leopard moth. It's white and has black spots. It's actually kind of pretty. I know we're going to have a bunch of them for as many caterpillars as out there. Snapdragons, and I forgot to bring a snapdragon to show y'all. They actually look like a little dragon in their little mouth. You pinch them and it kind of opens. Snapdragons come in various colors and sizes. You can sow their seeds directly in the soil and they'll reward you with tall spikes of blossoms. My experience with snapdragons is you plant them in October. You can plant them in the spring, and your nurseries and BOGOs, in the spring, they carry them. But I find if you plant them in October, they grow real big, they grow real full. If you plant them in the early spring, they don't get very big and they don't get as full. They make a much prettier display by planting them in the fall. Here's some snapdragons.
They're also deer resistant.
That's 3 plants right there, and that's in a container about this big around. Right, so I don't know if you can see the little dragon face. Sunflowers. Now, Susan Rouse, she's known for her sunflowers. She loves sunflowers. Sunflowers with single stems or branching varieties are fantastic for cut flower gardens. They're large, cheerful blooms and add a touch of sunshine to any arrangement. Sunflowers are relatively low maintenance and easy to harvest. Some sunflowers are only this big, different varieties. Some of the flowers are mammoth like this. The seed head is also edible. You can let it dry. You can put it on a fence post and the birds will come and they'll eat those seeds. Or you can salt them and roast them and enjoy them yourself. See how pretty they are? There's many varieties, colors, and sizes are available. They can be pollenless or branching. Direct sow the seeds in the garden, and they grow well in a compost pile. Your pollenless ones are one single stem. Your other ones are branching. Sunflowers make beautiful large arrangements. They awaken, they rise up, they follow the sun, east to west. In the morning, your flower will face to the east, and by late afternoon, they're facing to the west. It's amazing how they follow the pattern of the sun. Consider your bloom time when planting your cut garden. Planting spring blooming bulbs in the fall. Summer blooming bulbs are planted in the spring. Anyone know what this is? These are crinums, and it's bulb. And once you have those, you'll have them forever. Old home places have crinums. This is Mrs. Hendry, Mrs. James Hendry. That's a crinum. These are Asiatic lilies. These bulbs you plant in the early spring for a summer bloom. And they multiply, the bulbs in the ground multiply. I don't have these anymore. I have some in a pot. I don't have these because now I have a garage and they didn't get enough sun. Here's another type of lily. They just have so much beauty. And unlike day lilies, your Asiatic lilies, they last several days. Your daylily opens and it's one day and that's it. But it has continuous blooming. Then you have gladiolas. Your old cottage gardens had gladiolas. Glads are stunning summer flowers that can be grown from what they call corms. Here's some. They make pretty cut flowers. A lot of your funeral arrangements, if you'll notice, have glads in them. Some iris species are better for cut flowers than others. The bearded iris is one of the best iris varieties in the vase. Not only does it look good, but it's not prone to wilting as quickly as the other species. The dwarf bearded iris is a cultivator that also has a long vase life. This is what is often referred to as the cemetery iris. They were all white, and you always found them in the old home place cemeteries. This is a pretty bearded iris. See the little beard right here? They just have a natural beauty to them. And they come in all different colors. Bearded iris flowers come in a variety of colors and sizes, and they are often used as ornamental plants in gardens and landscapes. Bearded iris flowers have a long history and a rich symbolism in different cultures and traditions. When planting rhizomes, bulbs, corms, they like a lot of organic matter. Decomposed leaves work well for adding organic matter to the soil. When planting iris rhizomes, the top of the rhizome must be exposed. Do not mulch over the top of the rhizome. Do not completely bury them. When I put irises in the ground, like if somebody gives me some, I completely cover them. I know, I'm telling you different from what this says. And I let them grow that first year, and I don't care if they bloom. This will just establish a good root system for it, and the rhizomes will travel. I have some in my garden right now that I got from a lady that her mom had planted. This is the first year that I've had them. So now, in the fall, I'll move that soil away so the rhizome is showing, and then next year they will bloom. You know, anything good is worth waiting for. And so it must be exposed for it to bloom. Your bearded iris flowers symbolize elegance, grace, and prestige, faith, hope, wisdom, and courage, divine protection, guidance, and revelation. The name Iris comes from the Greek word for rainbow, which is also the name of the Greek goddess of the rainbow, Iris. According to Greek mythology, Iris was a messenger of the gods who used the rainbow as a bridge between heaven and earth. She also delivered the souls of women to the Elysian fields in place of the blessed after death. Therefore, the iris flower is associated with communication, messages, and connection between heaven and earth. And that's probably why you find the white iris in your old cemeteries. The bearded iris flowers come in a range of colors, and each color has its own meaning and symbolism. Here are some of the common bearded iris flower colors and meanings. Purple bearded iris. Purple is the most common color of the bearded iris flower. The blue bearded iris, blue is another popular color. It symbolizes communication, expression, and trust. They also represent loyalty, faith, and peace. The red bearded iris, which is rare, it symbolizes joy, optimism, and happiness. They also represent intellect, creativity, and confidence. The white bearded iris is the classic, symbolizes purity, innocence, and light. They also represent spirituality, divinity, and enlightenment. The yellow bearded iris, yellow is a cheerful color. It symbolizes joy, optimism, and happiness. They also represent intellect, creativity, and confidence. When arranging cut irises, remember they have a short base life. To extend their freshness, cut them as buds before they fully open, ideally in the morning when they still have morning dew. Keep them in a cool room away from direct sunlight. Use room temperature water and trim the stems by 1 inch every couple of days. Change your water in the base and cut your stem. Tulips. Who doesn't love tulips? How many have tried to grow tulips and they haven't had no luck? I've grown tulips. I used to grow them in Alvin every single year. And when my mother-in-law was alive, every single year, September, we bought the bulbs, we put them in the vegetable bin in the refrigerator out in our garage. And on January 1st, we planted them. They need that cold to bloom. Who doesn't love tulips? Some tulips naturalize. When one thinks of bulbs, they immediately think of tulips. Most catalog tulips are Dutch hybrid tulips that require chilling hours to bloom, just like your fruit trees. Chilling hours are the number of hours the bulb is exposed to 45-degree temperatures. They need about 2,000 chilling hours. This is why the rule of thumb for our area is to purchase in September, refrigerate in a paper bag in the vegetable bin, and plant them on January 1st. Here's some of mine. I didn't dig the bulbs up last year, and to my surprise, they came up and they bloomed. I was not expecting blooms this year. The Southern Bulb Company in Golden, Texas. It's a great source to purchase tulip bulbs. I think the Master Gardeners took a field trip there several years ago. Didn't they?
Yeah.
It's a great source to purchase tulip bulbs. The species tulips that they carry do not require chill hours. They can be planted and will bloom reliably. The added bonus is they survive the heat. Plant tulips in well-drained soil. The bad news, pocket gophers and other rodents love to eat these bulbs. So if you put mesh cloth, wire mesh cloth underneath and plant the bulbs, hopefully they won't get them. And if you need gopher or mold eradication, see David over there, he's Gopher Dave. Some people like their tulips drooping. You can keep them from drooping by cutting at an angle and using cold water in your vase. My daughters love the tulips when they bend over. I think they look sad when their heads are down. Change the water every other day and snip the stem at an angle every time you change the water. Warm water will grow bacteria quicker than cold water in your vase. The penny trick. Scientifically, this is not proven, but I've seen many people add a penny to their vases of fresh cut flowers to extend the life of the flower. My mother-in-law, she was 90-something years old. Every bouquet of flowers she picked out of her yard, she put a penny in the vase. Copper has antibacterial properties. Some people actually put copper rods in their water troughs to control algae growth. I used to do that when I lived in Alvin. And it keeps the growth, it keeps, the algae from growing on the sides of it. Pennies minted before 1982 contain more copper than the pennies made today. So if you're going to put your pennies in your vase, look for old ones. Daffodils, easy growing spring flowering perennial bulbs. Plant your daffodil bulbs where they can receive full winter sun in the garden. So in other words, you can plant them under that tree because it's going to lose its leaves and it's going to get full sun in the wintertime. That's when it needs to have full sun, winter. And in a spot where you can enjoy them. Since daffodils grow in the late winter and early spring, you need to know where the sun shines on your garden during the winter months. Plant your daffodils under deciduous trees that lose their leaves in the winter. Don't mix daffodils with other flowers in the same arrangement. They contain a sap that's harmful to other flowers. You can soak it to release this sap if you just want to have a little pop of yellow in your arrangement. Pre-soak your daffodil and then add it to your arrangement. Here's some pretty little daffodils. Some of them have white throats. The Southern Bulb Company grows many varieties of heirloom daffodil varieties. They're easy to grow, easy to find perennial companion plants for daffodil planting. Salvia, lantana, asper, esperanza, Turk's cap, plumbago. Those are all good perennial plants to plant amongst your daffodils. Here's some lantana. It's a butterfly magnet for sure. Here's another variety of lantana. It's a different color. Here's some planted with some daylilies. Here's the Turk's cap. The flower is edible. The little fruit it leaves behind is also edible. And it's very cute in a cut flower. Hummingbirds like it. Butterflies love it. Here's some Mexican sage. It's in some of these arrangements here. So you have a bulb, you have a rhizome, and you have a corm. They all grow under the ground. Your soil. Focus on good soil. Good soil means healthy balance of nutrients, water retention, and beneficial microbes. Poor soil is nutrient deficient. It creates drainage problems or increases susceptibility to pests and disease. Good soil health prevents all the above problems. It's always, just like vegetable gardening, it's always a good idea to do a soil sample before you even get started. You can pick these forms up at the extension office. Be sure to fill out your sample bag first before you put your specimen in it. By incorporating compost, mulch, and other organic matter, over time the soil becomes self-sustainable. Fertilizer becomes a snack, providing a quick boost of nutrients. Healthy soil needs very little help. It has everything your plants need. Keep adding that compost, keep adding that compost. These are wine cups. They come back each and every year. This is a native Texas wildflower. They're pretty in a vase. This is a mock orange. This has pretty canes, it has a pretty leaf, it has a pretty flower. It's good to add to your arrangements. Here's a daylily, a double daylily. You can cut that stem and all your other blooms will open, but the flower only lasts one day. So if you're going to cut it and bring it in your house, if there's 3 or 4 blooms on there, one will open, the next one will open. Asters are late summer, early fall. They originated in China and they're cultivated worldwide. They keep well in a vase. They grow up to 30 inches tall. Pollinators love them. Mums bloom twice a year, early spring and fall, and they come in several colors. Here's some mums. They bloom in the spring and then they bloom again in the fall. Salvias and sage, cottage garden favorites. Salvia meaning to feel well and healthy. Herbal medicine, easy to grow, full sun, 2 foot tall. It tolerates poor soil. It provides color May until the first frost. Here's some right here. This is a different type of sage. Salvia. Here's another flower. This is pineapple sage. So make it creative and fun. Bring the outdoors in. There's no rules here. Who says you have to have a crystal base? How about bottles, cans, pots, pitchers? Use a bowl, float your flowers. At your garden party, float those magnolias off of your tree in your pool, or freeze them in ice sculptures. think outside the box. You see I have different little things here that I've cut and put some stuff in. Here's a Confederate rose, right here. They make a pretty cut flower. They only last a day, but it's still something to bring in and enjoy. Here's some crepe myrtle, thinking outside the box. We trimmed some of them because they were against our barn, and I just brought them in the house. They're just too pretty to just leave out there to wilt. This is some of the stuff that was left in the garden before the first predicted freeze. You know, when they say on the news, oh, it's freezing tonight, it's going to be 30 degrees. That's when you run out and you pick everything and you enjoy it. Garlic makes a good addition to a flower arrangement. Do you not find that pretty when it goes to seed? And then the school lilies in the fall. So pretty much year round, there's something out there in your yard that you can find to cut and bring in. Here's a tree with some pretty leaves. I believe that's sumac. But is that not pretty, that orange? Put it in a vase. And what about your red buds in the early spring? Their bloom is edible. It tastes like a pea. And the mock orange from David. And then pine cone ginger. This is kind of different, but it's still pretty in a vase. Actually, you can use this cone for shampoo. It's good for your hair. And then the wine cup, they're pretty cut. And then for greenery, cut some of your ferns, stick it in a vase with your flowers. As you can see on that one over there at Miss Jones's table, I think I cut a piece of oak to stick in there for greenery. Here's the information for the Southern Bulb Company. Y'all might want to take a picture of this screen if you have any interest in bulbs that are for the specific area. The heirloom bulbs for today, Chris Weisinger, he's the bulb hunter. In their story, the company traces its roots back to a college horticulture project in 2003. The founder, a graduating senior from Texas A&M University, a federally funded land grant school, turned their passion into a business. They've since collected heirloom and antique bulbs from old home sites, preserving a piece of history in each bloom.
Can you put his information back up there, please? I can take a picture.
Take that.
Thank you.
And then this.
He has a tour every year in March where people can go up there. It's $20.
Yeah.
And he'll talk to you and give you a tour of his gardens.
And I'd like to extend a big thank you to the Haas Company. They're in Georgia for providing today's door prize. Here's the Haas information. And here's your seed catalogs, as you'll see on the tables. I don't know about you, but in December I'm stir crazy and ready to get out.